Good afternoon. I'm Jacqui Karn. I'm the coordinator of EQUIP alongside my colleague Rina Marwa, who's sitting in the second row. Stand up and wave, Rina. Rina G, I learned to say the other day, didn't I? We are the co-coordinators of the platform, and it's my job just now to give you a very brief overview of what we've done and what we've achieved over the last 3 years. And I really also want to take this as an opportunity to thank the other partners who are not going to be standing up at the front with you today, but I want to take this as a moment to thank them for all their contributions. It would not have been possible to deliver the huge number of events and reports and so on without their huge efforts. For those of you who don't know, I will just give you a sense of some of what Elizabeth has also said. I'm very glad that we clearly have a common sense of what was the starting point of EQUIP. EQUIP is now 16 research funding and support organizations. We've slightly grown from where we were at the beginning. We cover 12 countries, obviously including India. And we were funded by the Commission over the last 3 years in recognition of India's growth as a research performing country, and in particular the need from our perspectives as well to have genuinely global perspectives to address global challenges, and also to have really nuanced and relevant approaches to addressing those global challenges at the local level, and that they would be relevant for policymakers on the ground. I wanted to point out, particularly because of the theme of today and what we're moving into this in the next session, that there is huge demand for evidence to shape policies. That doesn't have to be the only driver for research, of course, but it is something that is worth us being aware of as we're thinking about where policies, research findings can reach, and that is no assumption that there has to be policy at a governmental level, but also users, communities, participants able to make the case for their own innovations in practice and advocating for resources. But these policies need to be fit for a very interconnected world. These need to be part of the way the world now is, and a local approach isn't necessarily going to fully capture those influences. And there is a tendency to look for solutions in this rapidly technologically changing context in the technical. And of course, the technical is not always going to provide the solution. And even if there is a technical solution, it's not going to be wholly technical. There are usually people involved. And when we're thinking about the global societal challenges that we're facing, those are often fundamentally human in nature, and it will be the social sciences and humanities need to be central to those approaches to fully consider how they could be addressed. I feel very much like I'm repeating myself because I have said a lot of this at every event, but it needs reiterating. One of the things, so EQUIP was very much set up to an acknowledgement that yes, there are ad hoc networks of social science and humanities researchers between EU and India. That was evident in FP7. It's evident in the bilateral arrangements between the members of the platform. It's evident amongst researchers co-publishing. But the mechanisms for collaboration are less developed than, or less well established than in the social science, than in science and technology. And so EQUIP was very much established to try to foster strategic relationships and build relationships between researchers and funders. And I just wanted to say very quickly why funders. So EQUIP was developed in recognition partly of the key role that funders play in facilitating international cooperation, and we have built very much on the experiences amongst the partners of working through North Face and HERA, and also in InnoIndigo. As funders, we can smooth the administrative barriers, we can look at our common interests and establish areas that we might want to foster research in, or that we can also engage with the expertise of research community to ensure that we are focusing on areas where there is genuine areas of innovation, areas of real added value in bringing researchers together from Europe and India, so that we are really led from the experts rather than from a political point of view. And so the EQUIP was very much, has had two strands in essence to what we've been doing, both in terms of developing stronger strategic relationships and also building networks of researchers. But ultimately, we've had our sights clearly on trying to develop a joint initiative, because that's why we're in it, to be able to bring our joint forces together to be able to create something new jointly. This is the moment where I want to take an opportunity to thank everyone for their contributions. So thank you, who noticed? So in terms of the building stronger strategic relationships, I can't emphasize strongly enough how important it has been and what a pleasure it has been to get to know other funding organizations. And for me personally, in understanding better how other organizations have worked, but I think as an organization as well, it's hugely important for us as coordinators. I think I could speak for ICSSR in that as well. And I think I would hope that would be the same for other partners. We began really trying to have a sense of where we wanted to go at the Joint Learning Workshop in Oslo, hosted by RCN, and also facilitated by ZSI, the Center for Social Innovation in Austria, who facilitated the event. And it really set us on a course and gave us some momentum to thinking about a joint initiative. Also key to the event, sorry, this has got in slightly wrong order, have been the staff exchanges. These were coordinated by AKA Finland and were attended by staff, each one from ICSSR and also from ICHR and ICPR, and also ICSSR, ICPR, ICHR and UGC were involved in receiving staff from other countries. 9 visits, 8 countries in 12 months. That's only the beginning. It was a lot of work. So we covered all the countries listed there. And again, these events as a list don't quite capture the influence that those relationships start to build of talking to one another, understanding each other's processes, actually building personal relationships, actually starting to have a sense, okay, actually their processes are not so dissimilar, maybe we can work around this, and also understanding each other's where there can be misunderstandings because of different use of language and things like that. These are fundamentally important and need time to understand. So this, the second part of what we've been doing, and again, a huge amount of work from partners in delivering this, has been in developing a thematic research agenda. Again, as I emphasized, we wanted to be very bottom-up, very led by expertise in social science and humanities. And we began with a scoping exercise from the Arts and Humanities Research Council in the UK. First of all, just getting a sense of what the partners would be interested in funding, what kind of themes they'd be willing to do, because ultimately that matters. But then we asked an expert group to advise us, to give us a sense of where there would be benefits in exploring things further and in bringing themes together in a way that made sense, to inform 6 thematic symposia events, 5 thematic actually, and then a summary event. So Professor Malhotra mentioned the first of those in Delhi in 2015 was on inequalities, growth, place and space, organized by ICSSR. We then had an event on digital archives databases as a source of mutual knowledge, organized in Rome by APRE. And then sustainable prosperity, well-being and innovation, organized in Helsinki by AKA. And then back in Delhi, but organized by the UK Arts and Humanities Research Council on social transformation, cultural expressions, cross-cultural connections and dialogue. And then back in Delhi again at the end of last year, but organized this time by the Norwegian partner, RCN, power structures, conflict resolution and social justice. And these are obviously very big areas of social science and humanities. And we wanted to bring this down to, okay, where are there some real added value, where's there some cross-cutting themes, some areas for really homing in our interests. And we had a very interesting, slightly different event in Bled, organized by the ministry in Slovenia, to try to draw those out, inviting conveners from each event. And that has, those events have both begun to build some networks of researchers, and also fed into our thinking for the future. And it will be something that we need to be thinking about how we take all that work forward. But most importantly, a lot of those themes have now fed into our thinking and into our initiative that Tony will be talking about in a second, that is the joint initiative between a number of us. So what holds for the future? Obviously, we've been developing this proposal for a joint initiative, and that has been a considerable amount of work, and we will be continuing to do that over the next period. And also, we have this thematic agenda, these thematic discussions that have begun to be developed, which are there as an agenda for EQUIP. They're also there as an agenda for beyond EQUIP. So those are discussions that could be drawn on by other initiatives, by countries involved in EQUIP, by those who are not involved in EQUIP, and by the Commission. So there's no reason why those conversations couldn't be shared generously with other partners. And into phase 2, well, we are going to be discussing that over the next couple of days. And it's a real pleasure, as Tony mentioned, to say that we have agreed, ICSSR and ESRC, to continue to coordinate the platform, to give it an opportunity to consolidate what we've achieved to date, and also to continue to further collaboration between Europe and India. And at this point, I'll hand back over.